Okay, I warned y'all that I was a little bit fixated on these Krell patches and I got a bit obsessed with the ancient music of the Krell. But maybe this is my last video on this for a while. I'm gonna make a Krell music generator, Krell music patch in Kyma. Once again, more details about what this is, the history of this in my pure data video or even my reactor video. But the general idea is this is based off of a generative patch designed by Todd Barton for his Buchla Synthesizer, which plays a note, and then at the end of that note, it automatically triggers a new note with a different duration, envelope, pitch, and timbre. This is inspired by Lewis and Bebe Baron's soundtrack to the 1956 film Forbidden Planet, where there's a brief excerpt of music written by the Krell, an ancient alien civilization who destroyed themselves by focusing on technology rather than understanding their true nature. Spoiler alert, I guess. Anyway, for today, let's make it in Kyma, and then maybe I can rest for a while. Let's start with an oscillator, Command B. And now let's run this oscillator into a mixer. We're not going to be mixing any audio, but we're going to need this mixer. Well, maybe we'll mix some audio, but we're going to need this mixer for some sound to global controllers. So now this oscillator needs an envelope. To my knowledge, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, there's no AD envelope in Kyma. There's just an AR. Command C this. And put it in there. Okay, so there's my AR envelope. And so I don't have MIDI set up here, but I can set up a button that has a gate. Let's just set scale to be 1. And now if I play this, we get our sound coming out. Okay, so now what we want is we want this to trigger itself. So we want, when this AR reaches 0, we want it to re-trigger that AR, that envelope, and also, choose a new note. One thing at a time, perhaps. Let's start by doing a sound to global controller. Command B, sound to global controller. I'm going to throw this friend in the mixer. And then I'm going to call it EOC for end of cycle. And as an input, I'm going to take Command C on that AR. I'm going to take this AR, and I had some issues with this until I put that L there, right? Because you want to make sure it only knows it's doing one channel, and then we will generate an event called EOC. But let's do one more thing. Let's say when our AR equals 0, and that'll trigger that end of cycle. And then we can set this as an EOC here as the gate. I'm going to do smoothed here, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But since this isn't a trigger, it's a gate, right? Because this is an AR envelope, not an AD envelope. We need to be a little bit more clever about how we do this, but I'll get to that in a second. So now if I could play this. Hey, we've got it self-triggering. Let's go to our oscillator now, and let's set this to be EOC. Next, random. So now when it gets that trigger, it'll choose a random number -1 to 1. But we don't want -1 to 1, so let's multiply it by 44. So we get -44 to 44. And then we can add 65, which is this sets it to be about the range of piano. Note number. I'm never sure about my parentheses, but better to be careful. So now let's try this. Okay, neat. Let's set our release time to be end of cycle. Now, I messed around with this and I tried to do a next rand exp. And so this is an exponential function. This is a different random. It chooses a random number, I believe 1 to 24. I'm sure there'll be a subtitle on this video if I've got it wrong. But that's probably too much actually. So let's take that and let's Let's have it. Okay, and let's see how this does. Hey, now we're getting somewhere. So I could similarly do this, but I'm going to give myself some problems with this. But let's try it at first. Now you'll notice it's not getting to the top of that attack time before it starts in the release time. So the way I solved this was I actually created another global controller, which I'll call attack time. And now we will take this, we'll call this attack time. I'll go into here, my value will be that expression, and I'll generate that attack time. And so now this takes that expression, generates that attack time, and now instead of smoothing this for the generic, I can't remember what it is, I think it's 200 milliseconds, I'm going to smooth it for the attack time. All right, now we've got random envelopes and random pitches. Now to get ourselves a little bit more Krell-y, oops, I just typed Krell into the find object. Let's find another oscillator and pop this guy in here. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we'll do some frequency modulation. I don't know, let's put in 10 there. That's gonna be pretty significant. And then for this, let's steal our frequency from there. Go to our modulator oscillator and throw that in there. So this is my modulator. And so I've just set the envelope to be 1 and the frequency there to be random. And then this one, the envelope is coming from the AR and the frequency is a different random number. This might be too much. Let's listen. I think that sounds pretty great. Usually the last step in our Krell patch is we can do a filter. I'm just going to do a low pass, and then what we'll do is we'll take our expression here and we'll throw it into this frequency. Let's give it a little bit of resonance. A little bit less slope. Low pass. Let's see how that did. I mean, to make it sound like 1950s sci-fi, we need some delay in here, I think. And of course, you know, if I were doing this seriously, I'd mess with my delay settings a bit there. But the key here, once again, is this AR envelope. So we have it go into this sound to global controller, which is looking for when it gets to 0. When it does, it generates a sort of trigger at this generated event EOC. And then once I have that EOC, I can send that wherever the heck I want. In this case, to set the attack time. In this case, to set the release time. In this case, to set the frequency of my modulator. In this case, to set the frequency of my carrier. I mean, I could have it set the feedback delay here too. You know, maybe we could set this to be EOC random random. Oh, sorry, I need to go next because it's a trigger, right? Next random times 0.4 plus 2. It's complaining because I don't have my parentheses in here. 0.2. I think that should work. Let's find out. Yeah, I'm not sure how I like that, changing the delayed on the fly, but... Now, of course, because we are in Kyma, we should do this. We should find a pan, and then replicate the heck out of this. Replicator. Think. I'd make that a pan into a variable. Replicator. How many do we need? I think we need 8. I think that's what the Krell would do. Roll the dice. And now, here is the ancient music of the Krell. Could even do an ambisonic version of this where I pan them to different ambisonic locations. Since I'm replicating, let me do a couple of things here. Let's take this modulator and let's set its envelope to be random. EOC. Next, random times 0.5 plus 0.5. So now we've got a random envelope in there. The amount of modulation, right? Whoops. But there you have it. Once again, the ancient music of Krell, this time down in Kyma. I think I'm going to take a break from Krell music for a while. Not that it's out of my system, but I'm sure you're not interested in it anymore. Again, messing with these numbers a little bit, messing with these random ranges is going to have a big effect on the music you produce. Changing from pure random numbers to smooth random numbers. There's all sorts of ways you might expand on this and make it your own. I hope that I've shown by doing this in PD, in Reactor, in Kyma, that it's not about the software that you choose. We can take a concept and apply it to whatever system we're comfortable with, whatever system we feel like we can express ourselves in. Let me know what you come up with. That's all I got for today.